Epiphone or Gibson? It's probably the most divisive question to ask any guitar player. The next question after that is generally Les Paul or SG. Now, if you ask me, I'm generally gonna tell you Epiphone Les Paul. They're great value guitars. You get that real Les Paul feel for a fraction of what the real thing costs. And I say real with air quotes because, like it or not, it says Les Paul on the headstock without any kind of copyright infringement. So, Gibson owners, and that's a debate for another video. Back to my point. So why am I now holding an SG with the name Gibson on the headstock? And more importantly, why am I about to tell you that I am thoroughly enjoying it? Well, that's because I bought a Gibson SG Standard 61 and I genuinely do thoroughly enjoy playing it. I've had it for a few weeks now as of recording this video, and it's making me rethink some things. And no, I'm not gonna tell you that Epiphone is trash and that you only should buy Gibson, much like the toxic people with too much money and pride would do, but I will say that in all of my years of experience with Epiphone, looking for the right Epiphone SG has been a challenge, to put it lightly. And it all comes down to one major point on most of them. But before we talk about that, let's see what this Gibson SG Standard 61 can do in a mix. So as you can see, I had a pretty good time playing this thing. It's easy to pick up, it's easy to get a feel for, it's easy to navigate around and play practically any style you want. And I mean, come on, it just looks amazing. It's a standard SG all around, full mahogany body and neck in this beautiful cherry nitro finish. It's got the small pick guard on it as opposed to the big pick guard that you would find on the regular standard. 2 volume, 2 tone, 3-way switch, Gibson Burstbucker pickups, trapezoid inlays on a rosewood fretboard, 22 frets, 24 3/4 scale. I mean, it's a Gibson SG all right. Okay, so what gives? Well, I've always said this about SGs, and I will caution you here in case this is the first time that you're hearing this. Play an SG before you buy one. And now I'm going to immediately break that rule and tell you that I bought this one used without even laying a finger on it. Mainly was because it was for a good price. That's really it. But I've been on the hunt for my SG for quite some time now. I took the gamble on the one big issue that I have with these guitars, and that is the neck, specifically the neck profile or the neck shape. Now, it's no secret that I like a fat neck on my Gibson and Epiphone guitars. My Les Pauls have chunky necks, and if I could have it my way, all of my guitars would also have fat, chunky necks on them, including this SG. But I find myself amazed to say that I genuinely enjoy this guitar, neck and all, despite it being the 61 spec and it having a thinner neck. And that was the gamble that I took when buying it, that the neck would be too thin and kind of like every other SG that I play from Epiphone while I was looking for that SG. But I've come to find something that's true that I've always kind of noticed, and that is the slim taper neck on the Gibson and the slim taper neck on the Epiphone are not the same. They aren't radically different, but there's one thing that makes it uncomfortable for me, and that is what I can describe as the shoulder of the neck. I'm talking about right up around where maybe the binding is, somewhere right around there. So on an Epiphone slim taper neck, specifically in my experience and specifically with SGs, I find that there's a rough curvature right up here around where the binding is on the neck, and I kind of compare it to when a Fender player says that they can notice that a Squier doesn't have rolled edges on the fingerboard. It's kind of the opposite of that, but on the back of the neck, if that makes sense. This Gibson SG specifically, the 61, has a much rounder profile, and in my opinion, it makes it smoother up here, and in turn it makes it feel fatter just in the back because it's more rounded. So it's still thin, but not uncomfortably thin. And again, this is all personal preference. And I talk about this because in my quest to find out if I was gonna like this guitar or not, having not put my hands on it, I did what anybody else would do, and I'd get online and look at videos. But the problem was that nobody was talking about the playability from what I found. It was all about, it has hand-wired electronics and Gibson pickups and that sweet nitro smell. Oh yeah, and who can forget the old, the SG stands for solid guitar, and back in 1961, Gibson discontinued the Les Paul and put Les Paul's name on it, and he didn't like it. We get the history behind the SG. We don't need to talk about it in every single video that has a Gibson SG, or any SG for that matter. All of which I've found to be, quite frankly, irrelevant. You can change all of the electronics and stuff fairly easily. It's much harder to reshape a neck. So for me personally, when I'm trying to find a guitar that I like, a lot of what I look at is playability. And I'm trying to pass this little lesson along to say that maybe you should too, and you would find that you would probably end up picking up a guitar that you may not like the look of as much, but it plays great. Not saying that I don't like the way an SG looks. I mean, how can you hate this thing? But I do also want to note that I did go out and compare another 61 standard with a regular standard, if you will. You know, the one with the big pick guard on it. And funnily enough, I found that the regular standard had a much thicker neck on it than the 61 did. But for some reason, I still picked the 61. Could this just be purchase justification? I hear you scream. And the answer is no. I found that the nitro finish on the back of the regular standard was a little bit sticky, and I understand that this can be a variance from guitar to guitar, but in that moment, the 61 just felt better in a lot of ways. Which in turn made me feel better about my purchase. And here I am weeks later with my Gibson SG Standard 61, and I'm happy as can be. It kind of goes into what I always say, go out and try a guitar before you buy it. Or if you buy one used like I did, go out and try to find one similar to it, and then you'll see if you like it or not. So is this guitar for you? Well, I hope this video helped shine some light on that question for you if you're out there, like me at one point, searching for an SG yourself. They're a very particular beast. I've always said that about an SG. You can't just go pick an SG up off the wall and play it. You do have to take your time and look for the right one. So take your time, be patient, and you'll find the one for you, and you'll feel so much better for it in the end. Hey, thank you so much for making it to the end of this video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, click my logo somewhere on the screen. That'll help you get subscribed to the channel if you're not already. If you want to check out some of my other videos, there should be some boxes coming up right over here somewhere. You can click one of those. It'll take you right to it. And if you want to support the channel in any other way besides just subscribing, check the link in the description of any of my videos for my Teespring store. You can pick up a shirt, hoodie, sticker, whatever tickles your fancy. And until next time, guys, I'll see you in the next video.